Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been another little bit since I've actually posted a video, but with life, it gets a little busy sometimes, but today we are back with another episode, and it's kind of a good, kind of a bad. We'll kind of start off with the bad, which is my Tangs, specifically the last two I got, the Achilles, as well as the Powder Brown. Unfortunately, they kind of passed away. Now, basically kind of what happened is one day I happened to find my Achilles just dead on the sand bed. Really no reason I could see as to why it died. It was just, kind of laying there. And man, I was like, damn, that's really bad, unfortunately. Especially since I knew it was eating. And it definitely wasn't any disease, because actually what happened was in this little sump I have down here, I was actually holding a yellow tang and another hippo tang for my neighbor who was setting up a new tank. So, if it was disease, the top fish would have caught it. The bottom fish would have caught it, so it definitely wasn't that. Now, what happened the next day is I actually ended up seeing my powder brown upside down. So basically it was nose down, tail up, and it couldn't swim. So I was thinking like maybe like a swim bladder issue, and then that shortly passed as well. And to me, that's really odd, considering, most of the original fish I have in the tank, they all do extremely well. Especially, these three tangs that I've had for the longest time. So I'm starting to think there might be an aggression issue, just because the tangs down there didn't die. My original tangs didn't die, so they have their own hierarchy. So it may be something that's an issue with this tank specifically. So an idea I've kind of been thinking of is actually removing this little purple tang right here, who is the butthead of this entire, tank, as well as this single fairy wrasse that I have. All my leopard wrasses I have in this tank do extremely well with each other. They do not fight with anyone. They all mind their own business, and it's perfectly fine. But this guy, he is a little bit of a jerk to new fish. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to, but if it comes down to it, I may end up removing that guy and rehoming him. I actually already have a person who's interested in him. And then maybe rehoming the purple tang as well at some point. Now, aside from the fish, we can move on to like the coral. I am having a little bit of issues with the Goniopora in this tank. If you guys remember, in my old tank, my 525, I had that big, glorious red Goniopora that was like the size of bigger than a wiffle ball, I would say. Maybe like a softball size, but it was big. And what ended up happening was when I moved it over to this tank, it did not do well, and it started slowly dying. So I ended up cutting it into pieces, and finally this last week, the last little piece that I have actually passed away. So unfortunately, I no longer have a strain of that Goniopora in this tank. Luckily, it's a fairly common one. It's just an ORA red Goniopora. But at some point, I'll probably get another one, to bring that red, beautiful red color back to the tank. Now, as far as my other Goniopora go, they are doing fairly well. This guy actually almost completely died and was a speck as well, and that one's coming back, which is nice. The other ones I have here are doing fairly okay. Now, I did get this one at one point from our local fish store. It's yellow centers with green. As you can see, it's kind of brown jellying right now. I am contemplating just removing the entire thing so I don't have brown jelly just all over my tank. Chances are, I think I'll end up doing that. Now, in this last week, since I ended up paying off, like a bunch of bills and all of life's many, many headaches, I did end up getting a bunch of coral, luckily. So Vin, who I have never shown you guys, but he is kind of like a big vendor here in Vegas. He had a bunch of scolies for sale. Some were really cheap because they were a little bit injured, and some were kind of nice. So I went ahead and I bought a few. And then today at our local fish store, we even had a sale for Father's Day. So I went ahead and bought some of those as well. So if you guys remember, in November, we did do the frag swap here in town. And this is actually another scolie that was a little damaged that I did get from Vin as well. That one, as you can see, has recovered super nicely. And then today, or not today, last week, I did end up buying a couple more. I did end up getting 4, so 1, 2, 3, and then 4, which is this little guy that died. Now, I don't know if you can see it very well on this guy that died. He gave me a pretty good deal on this one because this one, as well as the one right there, is a little bit injured, so there was a pretty steep discount. But this one has kind of like a redness to it. And I do remember reading somewhere there was like maybe like a scaly bacterial algae thing that ends up killing them. I'm not sure if that was it, but this seems like it kind of would be, considering it's a little hard to see, considering how red the bottom of the skeleton is, which is nothing like anything else that I have. But we'll go ahead and see. I mean, this one obviously just didn't make it, so too bad. But the other 3 so far are doing fairly okay. You have the like a UFO-ish kind of colored one. Right now my light settings are a bit on the white side, so there's not much color. But I can show it later once it gets a little bit more blue. So we have this guy, which is like a UFO-ish color. You can see this one's bubbling up. This is the other damaged one, so that one's doing fairly well also. So that one I expect to come back pretty well. And then there is kind of like a war paint one all the way in the back there. I'm just kind of leaving them there right now just because I don't actually have a place to put them, or I don't know where I'm going to put them. But yeah, hopefully they do well. I'll see if I can, put in a little bit of color there. And as far as that goes, the rest of the tank is doing fairly well. Sticks are, doing pretty good. They're definitely growing. They're kind of growing into each other again, which is annoying. I have this leather in front, which is not mine. That is also my neighbor's. It's the same as this leather here, which is mine. I need him to get his butt over here to pick that up because it's kind of in my way. I don't really have anywhere else to put it. But he also has a couple other torches here at my house. So hopefully he comes get that. If not, hey, dibs. But like I did mention at the beginning, I did go ahead and purchase some corals today from our local fish store. And I'll go ahead and get those kind of unboxed and then into the tank. Now it is a little bit hard to see, but we got 2 brains. This one is kind of cool because the skeleton is stuck together, so it's actually 2 of them. I wasn't able to actually check at the store, but I wasn't sure if they were either glued together at the bottom or they're just kind of one piece. Yeah, that's interesting. So they're actually one piece. It's a little hard to see right now, but this one is actually green and this one is actually red, which is super weird. They're just next to each other. Their skeletons are connected, but they're a completely different color. I'm wondering if maybe this one's a baby. But yeah, that's super cool. And then there's this guy right here, which as you can see on the rim, it's actually bright yellow. I wish my Orphix didn't blast the light like that, but that's okay. But we're gonna go ahead and get these 2 into the tank first. Let them open up and we'll see kind of how nice they look. All right, so it has been a few hours and I wanted to just go ahead and show you what it is I got. So that first one is this brain right here, which has kind of greenish yellowing color, a little bit of orange in the mouth. I think that's super cool. Hopefully in the next day or so it gets a little bit bigger because it was a little bit bigger at the store. The one I didn't mention is this Cyanarina, or Endophilia, I think it is. It's really cool. You can see all those little ridges right there. It has a really cool, like, 3-dimensional look. I still do have, well, there still is 1 day for the sale. I'm kind of considering maybe going back and seeing if I can get a few more, because that looks really cool. And it'd be a really good way just to kind of fill out the front aquascape. And then lastly, there is this brain here that I had mentioned before. The one on the left is like this greenish color, and then the one on the right is like a bright red. And like I had mentioned, they're actually connected to the same skeleton. So it's 2 of these, but they're fused at the base. They weren't glued together, which I think is super cool, because if it ever grew like additional heads, it'd be interesting to see if it had other colors. But yeah, that is pretty much it for today. As you can see, I have just like nice, big little pieces here. And hopefully, they do really well in this tank. I'm not going to be buying any more fish for the foreseeable future. Just because of that aggression issue. It's just honestly kind of annoying the crap out of me. Maybe at some point, if we do get rid of that purple tang and this little fairy wrasse right here, I might consider buying some new fish to try out. But I think at this point we'll just stick with coral, especially the easier coral that I know, most people don't really have issues with. Nothing finicky, nothing like Goniopora, for example. We'll just kind of go back to the basics and, get stuff that's just nice and easy just to fill out this reef. But that'll be pretty much it for today. Thank you guys as always for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.